A new report has linked Mike Vrabel to being the next New York Jets head coach, and apparently he's interested in the job, and this could fix the New York Jets, as Mike Vrabel can really solve a lot of problems for this team, their mindset, their mentality, the way they approach the game, and this is a signing that would be very interesting, so we're going to break it down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do. And guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. I know we constantly ask, but it's the season of giving, so give us your subscription. We deserve it. Nah, but in all seriousness, Mike Vrabel is interested in the New York Jets head coaching job. As mentioned by Rich Cimini on the Flight Doc podcast, Mike Vrabel has told people, according to Cimini, that he's open to the New York Jets head coaching job if he approves of the general manager hire. And Cimini also added that Vrabel doesn't care what Bill Belichick might think of Woody Johnson and would interview and decide on his own. Well, luckily, I understand why this is a thing. Like, I get it, but it's still funny that Bill Belichick, what he thinks matters to Mike Vrabel. I mean, Vrabel's in his 40s now. He's not playing under Belichick. This is a new time, so it's very funny to see something happen like this. But Rich Cimini went into this a little bit more, Matt, and also mentioned that essentially he didn't say anything at all. No, I'm kidding. What happened is Rich Cimini mentioned that now many people may assume Vrabel wouldn't even consider the Jets because what's he going to do? He's going to call up and ask one of his mentors in Bill Belichick and ask him his opinion on the Jets, and we know what Belichick's going to say. He's going to trash the Jets and say don't take the job if it's offered, which we've even talked about to a degree, Matt, saying that many guys who take this head coaching job, you understand there's a world where it could be 3 years or even a little less and you're out of there.
So you're making fun of Mike Vrabel for maybe thinking too highly of Bill Belichick, but I think Bill Belichick is a pretty advanced football mind. So what he has to say about the New York Jets is potentially accurate. Bill Belichick was the head coach for the New York Jets for 1 day, and then not even a full day. And then due to creative differences is what we're going to call them with Woody Johnson. Hatred is probably a better word, but we'll call them creative differences. With Woody Johnson is what led him to resigning from the New York Jets almost immediately. So he is, without a doubt, going to tell Mike Vrabel what his reservations about Woody Johnson were. And Mike Vrabel is going to then use his interview with Woody Johnson to determine, are these still real concerns, and do I really want this job? And I really hope that Vrabel does want the job because he was a pretty successful head coach for the Tennessee Titans for a number of years. He's an ex-player, so he knows he can connect with the players in our locker room, get them together, get a real team culture going, get real team bonding going on the Jets, which is something that they are severely, severely lacking in. Mike Vrabel's a guy who is really, he's not Dan Campbell, but he's a go-getter. He's a high-energy guy, and he is a very smart defensive mind that can hopefully get the Jets going in the right direction. His teams historically have been mostly predicated on the run, partially because they had all-world running back Derrick Henry for his years in Tennessee. We have Breece Hall, also a very good running back, also a top 5 type running back player. So he can come in, run the same type of offense. Todd Downing also called plays with Tennessee, and now Todd Downing is calling plays for the Jets. That's a connection to the Jets, but Todd Downing is most likely not going to be in our building next year, so don't put too much stock into that. The stuff you got to put stock into is what Vrabel has done as a coach in the past, and hopefully he can get the Jets going here on the right path should he decide to take the Jets job.
Yeah, and I mean, he did well in Tennessee. Tennessee's fall off didn't really have a ton to do with Mike Vrabel. I mean, essentially, you look at the way the Titans went, the team fully relied on Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry took him as far as he could carry the team, but then things started to go awry in a million different ways. Ryan Tannehill got older. It's a lot of stuff that you can't exactly pin on Vrabel, and Vrabel did end up getting fired from that job, but he should be somewhere on the list of top head coaching candidates, not just for the Jets, for all the teams that need head coaches, and it's supposed to be a lot. Now, obviously, I don't know if I'd call him the premier name, but I think the name that everyone comes back to a lot is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And we've talked about this before. If there's a ton of interest in Ben Johnson being a head coach, he's not going to go to the Jets. And that just is what it is. It's No one's going to go to this situation if they have a bunch of other offers from teams that are in objectively better situations. And also, there's less of the fear of, like every other coach, you spend a few years there and then get canned. So, a guy like Vrabel, like, I understand, as you mentioned, yes, Belichick understands football very well, and Woody Johnson's a buffoon. Like, it makes sense, but it's at the same time, like, do you think he'd really stop himself from taking a head coaching job just because his mentor, his former head coach, told him not to? And something to just take a look at, because it transitions pretty well, is that Bill Belichick said that Woody Johnson has always been kind of hard to predict what he's going to do. Some of it just is just hard to make sense of, but I think Robert Saleh did a good job there. So, Bill Belichick, I mean, mincing words a bit, because I imagine if you ask Bill Belichick his real opinion on Woody Johnson, he wouldn't just call him hard to predict. He'd probably say a bunch of words that would get us demonetized. But it becomes this situation of, at the very least, like, Vrabel's going to take an interest in taking the job. Even if he doesn't take the job, he'll do the interviews, I'd imagine. I don't think he's going to say, Bill Belichick told me no, I'm not interviewing for the job. Who knows who else Mike Vrabel is going to get interviews from, and I imagine there will be more than just one team interested in Vrabel. He deserves that. He was a good head coach on the Titans. So I imagine it'll be more than just the Jets interested in him. But if he's interested in the job and seemingly doesn't care what Belichick says, like, I don't know. I find it funny that someone would just completely rely on that. I don't think it takes a genius to understand the New York Jets are just an absolute circus.
So he's definitely going to take the interview, first of all. Second, he's definitely also going to talk to Bill Belichick, and he's going to at least take into consideration what Bill Belichick tells him. The next step for Vrabel is going to be listening to what Belichick said and asking himself, is Woody Johnson still that kind of person, that type of owner? And based on the answer to that question, Mike Vrabel will take or not take the job. You pose the question of, is he not going to be a head coach? Would he rather not be a head coach at all than be the head coach for the New York Jets? I think it's absolutely possible, because Bill Belichick did that very same thing, and then he got into the Patriots job after that, and we all know how that worked out for him. So it can work out when you're a coach who is as highly regarded as a Mike Vrabel. Even if you don't get a head coaching job in this coaching cycle, there will be another job available for him down the road. So it is very important for him to get into the right position, the job that fits him most, where he can do a good job. Because if let's say he takes the Jets job and it's not the perfect fit, and he knows it's not the perfect fit, and next year maybe a better fit comes out, maybe like the Cleveland Browns comes out, and that's a better fit, and he likes them better, but he can't take that job because he's stuck on the Jets, and he coaches the Jets for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, and then he doesn't do a good job. Now he gets fired. People are going to be saying, man, I guess Mike Vrabel just doesn't have the coaching chops anymore. He was fired from Tennessee, fired from the Jets. It's not looking good for him. But if he doesn't take the Jets job, then he has the opportunity in 1 year, 2 years. People go, okay, he was fired from Tennessee, but I think he's still a good coach. They don't have that second data point of him failing again. So it is better long-term career for him as a good head coach to take the job that is going to be the best fit for him. He's not going to take the Jets head coaching job just because it's a head coaching job. That is something that a first-time head coach would do. Talking about first-time head coaches, you mentioned Ben Johnson. The problem with Ben Johnson is every single team that has a head coaching opening thinks they're getting Ben Johnson. So you might be able to put 2 and 2 together here. Not every single team can have him. Only one team's going to get him. He's going to go to the team that fits him perfectly, the team that he wants to go to. And I can't imagine, if I'm Ben Johnson, I cannot imagine why he would ever turn down the opportunity to work with one of the best quarterback prospects of all time in the Chicago Bears. So that's where I expect him to go. Should he leave the Lions? Got to remember, last year he could have left the Lions. He chose not to. There is no guarantee that Ben Johnson even goes anywhere. If you ask me today, who would I predict the next Jets head coach to be? It would be ex-New York Jet Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. They have suffered a bunch of injuries this year along their defensive line, namely losing Defensive Player of the Year landslide favorite.
He was going to win it.
Aiden Hutchinson. And their pass rush is still looking amazing. Last night, the Green Bay Packers could not throw the ball. They had to keep running. 1, because it was working, but 2, they went to that run-heavy approach because absolutely could not drop back and pass. these pass rushers were just all over Jordan Love all night. That's the type of defense that the Jets would want to run. So Woody Johnson will, without a doubt, be questioning Aaron Glenn. And with all the other circumstances surrounding the New York Jets, that's who I think is going to be the head coach next year.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn makes a lot of sense for the Jets. I know a lot of Jets fans want offensive-minded head coaches, but it feels like Glenn. Yeah, me too. But it feels like it makes sense. It adds up well. I feel like Aaron Glenn would understand the assignment well with the Jets, and I also wouldn't mind. I guess it depends on if he'd be also being the defensive coordinator. We'll see a lot of how that goes and what his staff would look like. But he's coming from this Dan Campbell tree now, if you want to call it that. He's a branch off the Dan Campbell tree, and that guy turned around a Lions franchise that was right where the Jets are, and now they're the favorites to win the World Series. The World Series.
End the video.
They're the favorites to win the World Series. You know, I was going to ask just for the fun of it, Matt, you know what? Do you think Bill Belichick is going to try to become a head coach again? And if so, between 0 and 10, how much of a 0 is it that he would be the Jets head coach? I don't know if I want to ask that anymore now because I just said that the Lions are the favorites to win the World Series.
It's definitely 0. Bill Belichick is not going to be the Jets head coach. He hated Woody Johnson before, still hates him now. So, yeah, definitely Bill Belichick is not happening.
That's for the one person wondering that. I don't know who that is, but
I don't want him to be the head coach because he wants full control over the GMing decisions as well. That was the problem. That's why he was linked to the Atlanta Falcons head coaching job last year, but he wanted to have the GMing responsibilities as well, which he has proven that he's no longer good enough at. I could be a bit better GM than Bill Belichick today. He cannot be the head coach of the New York Jets.
Fair. Well, it was just something fun to bring up because talking about Bill Belichick, you got to throw it in there. Random thing that doesn't really have to do with the Jets. Do you think Belichick's going to become a head coach again? I have a feeling no, just because he's
1,000% yes.
You think he'll go back to it?
1,000% yes.
This offseason?
Probably be next year. Whether it's NFL or coaching, NFL or college, he just interviewed for the UNC head coaching job.
Oh yes.
So he's definitely 1,000%, 1,000,000,000% going to be a head coach somewhere.
Makes sense. Well, guys, let us know what you think down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you believe the Detroit Lions are going to win the World Series. And if you don't, still subscribe anyway, because I'll probably say some more dumb stuff on here and the next time I make a video. Well, guys, have a great day and go Jets.